बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम ख़वातीन हज़रात, कैसे हैं आप? आपके मूड कैसे हैं? आपके मिजाज कैसे हैं? मैं आपका होस्ट और दोस्त अरशद भट्टी हूँ। ऑन एवर अरशद भट्टी में आपको खुश आमदेद कहते हैं। खुदा रब करीम आपको खुश रखे, सलामत रखे, हंसता मुस्कुराता रखे। अल्लाह रब करीम आपको आसानियाँ अता फ़रमाए और आसानियाँ तकसीम करने की तौफ़ीक़ अता फ़रमाए। आमीन सुम आमीन। आप तमाम लोगों के इल्म में होगा कि 10 जून को यहाँ मिस्सागा मेयर के इलेक्शन, बाई इलेक्शन हो रहे हैं। बड़े अहम इलेक्शन हैं। इससे पहले जो मिस्सागा के मेयर थे बॉनी क्रॉम्बी, वो लिबरल जो प्रोविंशियल लीडरशिप है उसमें जो है वो स्विच कर दिया। और अब ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट, मिस्सागा जो है वो बहुत ज़बरदस्त शहर है, बड़ा शहर है। 8 लाख की आबादी, 800,000 पीपल आर लिविंग हियर। और इसके अलावा यहाँ पे एक डाइवर्स कम्युनिटी रहती है बहुत ज़्यादा। साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी की बहुत बड़ी तादाद यहाँ पे रहती है। और हम एक जो हमारे साथ आज मेहमान हैं, कैरोलिन पैरिश, आप बहुत अच्छी तरह से उन्हें जानते होंगे। लॉन्ग टाइम पॉलिटिशियन हैं और तकरीबन 13 साल मेंबर पार्लियामेंट रहे हैं मिस्सागा में। 13 साल से ज़्यादा अरसे तक जो हैं ये सिटी काउंसलर रहे हैं मिस्सागा में। अभी इन्होंने 15 मार्च को जो है वो रिज़ाइन किया क्योंकि वो मेयर का इलेक्शन लड़ना चाहते। 2 टर्म्स जो हैं वो स्कूल ट्रस्टी भी रही हैं और एक इनफरादियत इनकी है। इसी वाले से आज इनसे बात करेंगे, खुश आमदीद कहेंगे। कैरोलिन पैरिश, वेलकम यू इन टोरंटो 360 TV.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
How are you? Thank you very much for your time. I know you're very busy nowadays. So everybody must be asking you this question, that what inspired you to run for the mayor election?
Well, we were a little not surprised, but disappointed when Bonnie decided to run for the leadership because she was doing a really good job. But I'm glad she won. She's very happy. And I looked around. We have 4 new councillors, and some of them are only one-term councillors. So it's a very inexperienced, not very, somewhat inexperienced group. And I looked at my own experience and I thought, well, you know, sometimes you have to step up to the plate and you have to fill in.
All right. So you must have some priorities for the Mississauga. You know that what are your priorities and how you will address that?
Well, my first priority is, I think, the priority of the whole country, which is to get better housing.
Okay.
We've had 40,000 of our people leave the city since the last census. We're the only city in the GTA that's lost population. And we're told it's because we're the most expensive. And in real estate, if you have low supply, you have high prices. So we have not built enough buildings, not enough units, not enough homes in the last couple of years. And right now it's difficult because interest rates are high, but we have to find a way to accelerate development and get houses built. Also, that affects the cost of living. If you are paying too much rent or too much mortgage, then you don't have a lot of money for food and clothing. So we're going through a tough time.
But how will you do it? Like it is like the same
Well, doing
problem.
it, one of the things, Heartland, which is very close to here, came to us with a plan a year ago because their stores are not doing as well because people do Amazon, they do all kinds of other things. So they would like to close a section of Heartland running along Matheson between Mavis and McLaughlin, and put in about 22 shorter, medium-sized apartment buildings and a nice greenway and some offices and some smaller shops. So I would okay that right away. That's a zoning change. The other thing we've got is if you go up Highway 10, we've got 163 acres there that's all zoned office. And you probably know that studies have just shown we don't need any more office space for 30 years. So I would call in the people who own that property. They've owned it since the 1990s. They bought it fairly cheaply compared to land today, and try to coax them into building on them and putting at least an apartment in the middle of it and some shops and some restaurants. So it has to be a bold program. The fourplexes work and little infills work. They're very difficult because some neighborhoods don't like them. But where you have to make a big difference with numbers is both rezoning the plazas, and there's 2 smart center plazas that want to be rezoned as well. Not the whole thing, just a piece. And that land on here, Ontario, where the LRT is going in. So I think my plan is strong. And
what will be the criteria? Because now the people who have the money, if they will jump in there and they will purchase those things, and how you will, because the people who don't have house, they are the most people who are eligible for that. There'll be any criteria for that? Who will buy the house?
We have to really look at that because we are a democracy and people can buy whatever they want. So if you have medium-priced apartment units and medium-priced houses, they can buy them up and then become landlords. But I would strongly work hard to get the right people into those homes.
So, but you also make in your mind about the green spaces there, because that's
also green spaces. The one that they showed us from Heartland has a beautiful greenway all the way through the middle of it, nice walkways and trees and so forth.
And what about public transport? There's another problem. Another thing is that for the last so many years, we see the developments, the construction work is going on all the streets, and a lot of people are complaining about that. So did you notice that, and there's any plan? I know that's the important thing. We need this LRT and other things are there. But even though in even summer or winter, the 24/7 there's work going on there.
The construction on the LRT is taking a while. We're slightly behind schedule, but my understanding is we're probably in pretty good shape there. And it's causing traffic jams all over the place, because if you want to avoid Hurontario, you go down McLaughlin or you go down other north-south routes. But transportation to really work in the city, you have to have an east-west connection as well. The LRT is going to be fine, but you need an east-west connection to get into Toronto and to go west. We also need all-day go to Milton, which people have been asking for years. And at first, the feds said, well, you know, if you can get some money out of the province, we'll do it. So now the province has announced they'll give us the money, and the feds are quiet about it. So it's one of those things that a strong mayor, and maybe 3 strong mayors, Mayor Groves, Mayor Brown, and myself, can go down to Queen's Park and coax them into giving us some money and getting our transportation organized.
And what about the local business, for the small business? Do you have any plan for them? Because it's a growing city. There's a lot of people who immigrants are here. They usually want to stay in Mississauga, Brampton, or the GTA.
Well, small businesses are the actual backbone of the economy. And when they do come here from outside of Canada, they bring skills, they bring shops that have interesting things. People are very happy to shop in small business stores. They're also happy to deal with small businessmen, because sometimes there's a similar language connection or whatever, customs connection. So how to encourage them, I don't know, because they're pretty resilient. I find the small businesses don't fail as much as some of the big ones, like Red Lobster just declared bankruptcy today. The small guys seem to be able to survive, and if there's anything we can do on a tax basis.
Because the whole family was working there.
Yes.
That's the reason also.
Yeah.
And overheads are not that much, but the main stores.
Yeah.
The other thing is the community safety. That's the problem, the big problem about the car theft, robbery, and the other things. Do you have any specific plan? I know the lawmaking is federal government's thing, they have to do that. But what you can, because the carjacking, car theft, robbery is on a rise, especially in our Peel region.
Well, we've gone up 113% from last year on car thefts. There was a federal announcement this morning that they are increasing their vigilance. They're putting teams together. They're doing all these things. And they finally said what I wanted to hear, which is the Port of Montreal and the Port of Vancouver are going to start having scanners.
Oh,
and this is what they have in the United States. So here it's kind of potluck whether you get the right piece of container with cars in it. There, every single one goes through a scanner, and you can see a deck of cars in there. Then you ask for the paperwork, and then you cut off the market, because they're going to the Middle East, they're going to Africa, they're going to parts of Europe. And once you cut off the market, it takes away some of the impetus to steal cars. And they were discussing this morning also that car theft, it's $1.2 billion business. It's feeding all the crime. And
and also, I think the kids are involved in that, 15, 16 years kids, and there should be some strict laws for that, because when they arrest someone, the other day or 2-3 days, they were released from their custody.
Well, the 16 and 17-year-olds are the ones, unfortunately, that are being coaxed into stealing cars. They're being given $500 a car. They drive to a Tim Hortons, they leave the car outside, and the professional thieves come and take it. And they end up going in, getting charged occasionally when they're caught, and they're out on bail, and they're gone the next day. We can't find them. I don't believe in really coming down hard on kids. I wish there was a way that you could get them out of the business. I built a hub up in Malton, and we've had about 50,000 visits to that hub since October. Kids are fed there. They get to go into a recording studio that you'd be happy to work in. And they get to do all kinds of activities with their colleagues. So they're not wandering the streets being picked up by guys to say, would you like to make $500 stealing a car? So I think we have to concentrate on keeping our youth occupied and occupied in things that are productive and keep them happy.
So do you think about the installing of those scanners that the ratio of the theft will be going down?
I think it has to go down because once you scan the cargo, you pull that out and say, all right, show me your paperwork. If they're stolen cars, they don't have the paperwork.
Okay.
Right now, it's kind of hit and miss.
Okay, in the city, there's a lot of committees, a lot of councils when the like common people are the member of that. So do you have any plan to engage with and involve the community for the decision making in the city affairs?
Yeah, I think we need more committees with citizens on them, absolutely. I would like to get a seniors advisory committee because the seniors kind of get pushed to one side and they've got a lot of concerns. I've been to a few seniors' homes and they would, I would love to get them a 65 plus card so they can go on transit for free. Okay. They can use the facilities in our rec centers for free during the day because nobody's using them anyway. Everybody's at school or at work. People are using them, but not as much. There's free time there. So I'd like a seniors advisory committee. I'm also going to put together a committee with a lot of the big developers that do a really good job and meet monthly with them and find out what we can do to help them, what we can do to cut the red tape, what we can do to make things go through City Hall more quickly. And I've been told that there's a real need for a Muslim advisory committee for Islamophobia, and I would love to look into that because it's a very specific problem with what's going on in the world right now. So those are the three I would look at to start.
Good. It is another problem. There's some new plazas, they build new plazas, and there is a parking problem there. There's especially in the evenings, there's that much rush, people cannot park that. So there's be any laws for that how many, when you build in any business, that much parking should be there?
That's usually what happens, and sometimes if it's not as close to what they need for the stores that are in there, they let them pay a charge in lieu of parking, and it's only if it's a couple pieces short, a couple of parking spots short. But generally speaking, when they get an occupancy permit, the first thing the city does is it tests the parking. So I don't know what's going on. I know there's a couple of plazas that have a problem, but most plazas do okay.
All right. Another question, that's the important question. You have been in the politics so long, very long time. So how you're different from the other candidates? Why people should vote you?
Well, I think with experience comes wisdom. With experience comes the ability to deal with all kinds of different problems and understand people. The longer you're in politics, the more you understand people and what makes them, what motivates them. So I think my experience helps quite a bit. I have been in Mr. Chrétien's government for 13 years. He was a really masterful politician. I learned a lot from him. And I got a lot of experiences. I went to Pakistan, went to the Middle East. I actually been to the Middle East 4 times. I was actually in Gaza once. But the trip to Pakistan was very interesting.
So how was that your experience in Pakistan?
It was fabulous. It was fun to see all the color and the excitement and the decorated buses. And the thing that's most fascinating is a husband and wife on a motorcycle with 3 kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that. And they don't ever seem to fall off. Nothing ever seems to happen.
That's very normal.
Yes. And I met Mr. Imran Khan when I was there, the current Prime Minister, who unfortunately is in jail.
Yeah, it's not former Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. I had dinner with him. And then when he came to visit in Canada, he came and stayed at my house for an afternoon.
He's a very popular, most popular leader in Pakistan.
He is a wonderful man, and he's very democratic, and he believes in a separate judiciary, and he's a very progressive man.
All right. So how this city, like this is city, provincial and federal, how you plan to work with the province and the federal government that you can get more grants for Mississauga?
That's not a difficult question. I think you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. So I won't be one of those people that attacks the Premier. I don't think he responds well to that. I think I'm starting to work a bit of a relationship. I think also we're very powerful when you have the 3 mayors from the 3 parts of Peel. And if we all work together well, which we do, then we will go to Queen's Park on a regular basis and give them our list. one of the things we need is more money for social programs. We get about 50% of what we should be getting. And I think we have to push really hard for that, because now with the difficult times we're in, we need more social services.
Right. You're known as an outspoken politician, and generally you give your comments on the other politicians on the very sensitive matters. They don't speak on that. So this attitude helpful for you, or is creating some problems for you in the past?
It seems to get me into trouble once in a while, but I always come through it because people believe I'm telling the truth. The truth as I know it and as I believe it and as I've studied the subject. So, for example, when I was very outspoken on not going into the war in Iraq, I was right. So we had done studies, we knew. And what I was very proud of was that's the first time Canada has not followed the United States into a war. So every once in a while, we do the right thing like that, and I'm very proud of it.
Good. And you know, a lot of South Asians are living in Mississauga, and for India and Pakistan, cricket and politics, they're the two main things that we discuss about it. So in past years, there's a lot of tournaments, world tournaments. The last year, T20 tournament was in Brampton. So there's any plan to build an advanced cricket stadium in Mississauga?
The advanced cricket stadium is a tricky question because people want a soccer stadium, people want all these things, but we're building a good professional quality soccer pitch in Ward 5, just up on Matheson and here, Ontario.
Okay.
It'll have proper stands, it'll have washrooms, it'll have lighting at night. But to build a cricket stadium is going to take a lot of work. And I'm happy to do it because I built one in Ward 6 when I was there, a small one.
Malton?
And I've got one in Malton I inherited, which is a very nice one. And we've got one at Paramount, and we've got one up at Danville. So we have a lot of them in the area that I was in as a councillor. So yes, I guess our next step is a professional stadium.
So there was a lot of talk about the independent Mississauga, and the former mayor was more into that, but the other mayors would not agree on that. So what do you think? There should be Mississauga standalone or with the Peel region?
No, I think years ago when Hazel wanted to do it, I think it was a smaller organization. Now it's a $3.6 billion operation. It'd be very hard to break it up. I think they've come to the right decision not to, because our taxes, I think Mr. Brown may have exaggerated it a little as he's very flamboyant, but generally speaking, our taxes would have gone up for at least 4 or 5 years. So I think the transition team that they hired looked at it and gave the advice to the Premier, and I think that stage of our life is over.
So keeping the view of the inflation and a lot of other things, the property tax normally they increase almost every year, 2 years. But this city have their problems, they have to feed the other things. So what about the taxes? Is there any other plan that you can reduce the taxes or any other thing they can do? Because nowadays it's very difficult, it's hard for the people.
What I very much like to do, instead of having one big budget meeting at the end of the year just before the taxes are set, I would like to have all the councillors hold quarterly meetings.
Okay.
And because we pass motions and they have money attached to them, and every quarter you put it up on the board, say this is what we're looking for, we need your priorities. And I think if you do that and you watch all the budgets very carefully all year long, you can keep it at, because we've had to raise money the last few years, things have accelerated, and I think now we need to try to come in at the cost of living increase or less. I think zero tax increase is impossible.
No, it's not possible.
Can't be done. Because you have union workers that have contracts, you have leaking roofs in community centers, you have roads that need repair. It's very hard to promise zero.
All right. So in the polls, you're leading with a wide margin. So how confident you are?
You're never 100% confident. It depends on the voter turnout. The polls, you just sit at home and you answer the phone and you can say, yeah, I think Carolyn's wonderful. But that doesn't mean you're going to get out and vote and you're going to take your family with you. The voter turnout is really important. So you never take the polls for granted. A lot of especially when they're not leading in the polls, politicians will tell you the only real poll is election day.
The election day.
Yes.
All right. Any message for our viewers?
Well, I just gave them the message. All those viewers out there that would like to see me as the mayor of our city, I would really appreciate it if you would get out and vote. And you've got advanced poll days on the 24th and 25th, and then on June the 1st and the 2nd, another set of advanced polls if you're away. And I always tell people, take a couple of neighbors with you or call your brother-in-law. Get people out to vote. It's really important, mostly if they're voting for me.
Thank you very much, Carolyn Parrish, for your time and wish you very good luck.
Thank you very much.
हमारे साथ मौजूद थी कैरोलिन पैरिश, वो जो मेयर के इलेक्शन हो रहे मिसाग के, उसकी मेन कैंडिडेट हैं। पोल्स में तो ये लीड कर रही हैं। और देखिए, वोट आप ज़रूर दीजिए, जैसे उन्होंने बताया है। वोट जो है हक तो है, फ़र्ज़ भी है, लेकिन वोट आप ज़रूर डालें, एडवांस में डालें। 10 जून का दिन याद रखें और सारा दिन पोलिंग होती है। और एक अच्छा कैंडिडेट आपके लिए बेहतर जो है आपकी सिटी के लिए, मिसागा हमारी सिटी है, हम चाहते हैं कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा यहाँ पे तरक्की भी हो, खुशहाली भी आए, तो वोट आप 10 जून को ज़रूर डालिएगा। दुआ में रखिएगा याद, हौसला नहीं हारना, बल्कि हौसला भी खुआने की चीज़, इन ऑलवेज फॉलो योर हार्ट, क्योंकि सब अच्छे की आवाज़। अपने मेज़बान अरशद भट्टी को दीजिए इजाज़त। अल्लाह हाफिज़ और सपुर्द मौला।